I feel like this is gonna be more of a childhood trauma review than an actual movie review. Um, I first watched Ju-on and also The Grudge when I was a kid, which I don't feel like it's a very wise thing to do, but that's just what happened. And also like a bunch of other stuff, or stuff like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I think I mentioned at like the previous videos that I watched when I was a kid. And when I say when I was a kid, that's like prior to 8 years old, something like that. Definitely prior to 11. But anyway, with Ju-on slash The Grudge, which I'll just abbreviate to Ju-on, and you guys can like understand. I watched that because I have a sister and a aunt that are really into horror movies. And so at the time they decided to watch this movie, and well, I had nothing better to do. That was prior to family computers and of course personal computers. So I had nothing better to do. And so I went to watch those movies with them. And that led to situations. But anyway, both my sister and this aunt, they I feel like they were more into experimental stuff and like less mainstream horror movies back then. The reason why they watched Ju-on, and with time they kind of moved on from that and went to like more mainstream stuff, while I stayed behind until now, and hopefully until the end of time. I'll still be watching these weird, more niche movies, while they like nowadays they watch what Conjuring, they watch James Wan stuff, and not much like not that many unknown movies. Even with Ju-on, I believe they started through The Grudge, and then they moved to the Japanese version of the movies, but like not really their cup of tea. I do remember that my sister was more into experimental stuff than my aunt. But I don't know, because I have some memories of us watching some like more obscure stuff. But anyway, I watched this and it led to me having to sleep with the lights on for quite some time before I grew out of like being afraid of these movies. And I don't know, I feel like Ju-on has some really interesting moments to like give nightmares. Like there is a scene, not really on the true first movies, but you'll see that on Ju-on, The Curse, and also The Grudge. There is a scene where a ghost is beneath the bed sheets. So there is this woman lying in bed, and then there is this ghost figure that shows up beneath the bed sheets. So it's like you're not safe, even beneath your bed sheets, which is supposed to be a safe place. Your bed is a sacred place. Monsters cannot attack you in there. Um, Even like Fred Krueger knows that he does not attack you in the bed. He attacks you like on your dreams. And like if you're not, you can be dreaming on other places other than the bed. So even him knows like to respect that sacred place, which Kayako does not know how to. Um, because there is a bunch of scenes that takes place on bedrooms. But anyway, going to the movie, it's a movie about a haunted house. Something happened in there. Now there is a ghost that will haunt everyone that sets foot in the house. And what I like about it is that there ain't much stuff going on the house itself to tell you it's a haunted house. It's like it's an ordinary house. It's not like the usual American movies haunted house where it's clearly a bad place to be on. This is just a common house, and you can set foot in the house and nothing bad will happen to you until a couple days goes by. So if like the idea is that like every place could be cursed, just like the Saeki house, because like there is no visual elements that you can like guide yourself and like figure out the house is haunted before you actually become cursed by it, which is cool. I like it. Kind of shifts away from like mainstream movies that, you know, as I said, will give you enough clues for you to figure out the place is haunted before you can get close to it. Like you can figure out some abandoned building is haunted on American movies from like very far away, which does not happen on the Ju-On franchise. And you only figure out it's a haunted house when it's already too late for you to escape. But anyway, this movie will show stuff out of order, which I kind of like, because then it holds up the mystery for longer. Like when the movie starts, we are following this professor that is Kobayashi, which is doing a visit to a family house because, well, the kid is not going to his classes anymore, so he needs to go to the family house to figure out what's going on. And he gets there, the place is very dirty, and you don't really see odd things going on, at least not supernatural things. You still see that the kid is kind of abandoned because of the state of the house. You can not figure out, but what's the word for it? You can extrapolate. Okay, let's go with extrapolate that the kid is kind of abandoned due to how the house is, and of course the state of the kid, because he has some bruises on his body. So you know something is odd. And that segment the movie split into segments. This one's called Toshio, which is the name of the kid. And this segment ends with a weird imagery of the kid. So Toshio is in the background and you can see his face getting distorted. And then the movie cuts out to a different story. And now we're gonna follow a family that just moved to the house that we just saw. They just moved to the Saeki house. So something happened on the house. The kids stopped going to school. And then something else happened with the Saeki because they are not living in the house anymore. And now we are following this other family. And then the movie is gonna be again split, as I said, not again, as I said, it's gonna be split into chapters, and each chapter will be named after one of the family members, and we'll see how they die. And as they are dying, we are like seeing more and more of this curse that they contracted, I guess. And we'll see more of the ghosts. And now we see that there is a woman ghost, which, well, I'll be calling Kayako, but we still don't know her name at this point. We just know there is a ghost woman, and we don't know what's the deal with her. We don't know, like, how she died, why she's killing people, why she is bound to that house. So we just don't know much about her. We just know that she's there and she's killing people. And also we see Toshio as a ghost. So something happened between the chapter 1, Toshio, and the second chapter. Something happened with Toshio, and now he is clearly a ghost. And he's also chasing the family that just moved to the Saeki house. But again, we don't know much. And then it's like, for the entirety of the movie, we just see these ghosts attacking the new family. And only at the ending of the movie, so heavy spoilers, I guess, but I hope you watched this movie before coming here. You can find them on YouTube. My best advice is for you to go watch Juon the Combo Cut. It's on YouTube. There is two videos with the same name, but one of them has clearly a better quality over the other. You can identify them by chapters. The one with good quality actually has YouTube chapters. Like as the movie is split into chapters, the person that uploaded the combo cut on YouTube also put chapters on the video, so you can identify the one by that. And that's like the best way that I can think of for you to watch these two movies, Juon and Juon. No, Juon the Course and Juon the Course 2. Anyway, if you still didn't watch it, go there, watch it, and then come back, because now we're gonna get into heavy spoilers. Only at the ending of the movie that we go back in time to see the continuation of Toshio's chapter, the one that we saw at the beginning of the movie, and then we figure out why Kayako died and how the curse was born. And that's also the chapter where we have the greatest scenes of these two movies, Juon the Curse and Juon the Curse 2. I mean, there will be another video to talk about the following movies. Which first we have, well, let me explain better the story. So Kayako was she was married with Takeo, with whom she had a kid, Toshio, but Kayako was also obsessed with this other guy, Kobayashi, which was one of Toshio's professors. And she had a diary where she would write stuff about wanting to have a relationship with Kobayashi. And at some point, Takeo finds this diary, and then he gets mad at Kayako, and then he starts to think that, well, she's in love with Kobayashi, so maybe it's more than an obsession. Maybe she had a case with Kobayashi. Maybe Toshio isn't even my kid. So he decides to get vengeance, I don't know, against Kayako. So first he kills Kayako by breaking her neck, and then he wraps her around some plastic bags, some plastic trash bags. This is gonna be important later. And then he hides her body on the attic, I think. Basement, I think, is at the bottom, and the attic is at the top. So he hides, well, that's what I think those words mean. He hides Kayako's body on the top, which I assume is the attic. And then he goes to Kobayashi's house to also get vengeance on the Kobayashi. And there he finds Kobayashi's wife, which is pregnant, and he kills her, and he also kills the baby. And then that is what gives birth to the curse from Juon. Is Kayako being killed, and having this anger feelings attached to the way she died, and then she becomes a vengeful spirit that will kill everyone that sets foot in her house. Also, due to Kobayashi's wife being killed, not in the same way, but under similar circumstances, also a curse is born at the place that she died. So now we have two curses, one on Saeki's house, another on Kobayashi's house, which is gonna be important later on. But anyway, then after doing that, Takeo gives a phone call to his house, which Kobayashi picks up, and he explains the situation, and that's how we figure out what's happening, why the curse exists, and why Kayako, we figure out who the ghost is, which is Kayako, and then we figure out why she's killing everyone that sets foot in her house. And then we have the best imageries on this franchise, maybe even on horror movies in general, because, well, Kobayashi set foot in the Saeki's house, so now he's cursed, and so Kayako comes to take his soul, and that's gruesome. So we see her ghost coming down the stairs, because, well, she's on the attic, so she climbs down from the attic, and then she crawls down the stairs from the second floor to the ground floor, where Kobayashi currently is with Toshio. So we see Kayako crawling down the stairs, and she's like wrapped in the plastic trash bags, and she's doing like a characteristic sound for the franchise, which is the sound. Yeah, I can kind of do it. I hope the microphone captured that. And I loved doing that as a kid. Because like the way she was killed by Takeo, which broke her neck. And this is like the it's kind of like her trying to breathe. But anyway, it was fun to do that when I was a kid. I should get back to it. Yes, I am autistic. I know that. I already got the diagnosis. But anyway, and we see her crawling down the stairs, and the sound design is just perfect. There is no music to it. There is no loud noises. It's just Kayako doing this sound, and of course the sound of the paper bag that she is wrapped on, and that's all the sounds that we hear. And then of course she claims Kobayashi's soul, which is also like the way she claims his soul is also really good, because she's like getting near him, and at this moment he's like on the floor because he just received the news that his wife got killed by Takeo. So he's on the floor, and then he just tries to crawl away from Kayako, but then he crawls in the direction of the entrance door of the house, and then the door just opens, and there is also quote unquote another Kayako in there, and we just see her face peeking through the door, and then like he looks up, she calls his name, and then like she goes in his direction. She like leans towards him, and then there is a cut. That's like perfect. Like best death scene I saw in the past years, I guess. And then there is also another good imagery right after that, because then we cut to Takeo, and Takeo has Kobayashi's son inside a bag, and he hangs up on the phone that he was using to talk to Kobayashi, and then he just starts to like aimlessly walk on this street, this kind of empty street, and he's just hitting the bag with Kobayashi's baby inside. He's just hitting that on walls and different surfaces, and then at some point he falls on the ground, and then we see a this again plastic trash bag kind of crawling towards Takeo, and then we see like a hand coming out of this trash bag, which is Kayako's hand, because she is also claiming Takeo. So and that's also really beautiful. I'm gonna use this word, fuck it. It's I don't know, it's beautiful. That's the best way I can think to describe that scene. But anyway, that's kind of the ending of the first movie. There is also a couple of scenes after it, because well, first was the Saeki, then there was another family, and then we kind of follow a third family living in the Saeki house. They managed to, the company that owns the house manages to sell it once more, And then there is kind of an open ending, which we see the new family in the house, and there is clearly something wrong with the woman, and it's like the movie kind of hints towards that, oh, the woman is possessed by Kayako, but it does not really develop much. It just like the movie just ends like that, and it's kind of an open ending. I feel like it would be way better if they ended it with Takeo's death, but meh, I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of these last segments because it feels kind of it feels kind of loose, and not really connected to the rest of the movie. And they could just like have cut that and just left on the second movie. But anyway, the second movie will then kind of just tie some loose ends from the previous movie, like the guy that owns the company that owns Saeki House, after the I forgot the name of the second family, but anyway, after the second family dies, so I'm counting as the Saeki being the first one. So after this second family dies, he goes to the house, because he has a psychic sister, so he goes to the house with his sister to like try to figure out what's going on in the house. And then there is kind of a plan on how to properly sell the house, which of course does not end up really well. But anyway, they managed to sell the house. That's the important thing. They managed to sell the house for a third family. And then the second movie is just gonna tie up those loose ends. Like the owner of the company that owns the Saeki house, he set foot on the house, so he's now cursed. As well as the third family, they are living in the house and now they are so cursed. And the second movie will be tying those loose ends. And I don't know, if I could like actually recommend something, I would just recommend people to watch just the first movie, because I don't know, if the second movie just feels kind of disconnected, but the issue is that the first movie ends on an open note and there is a bunch of loose ends to it, so you need to actually, like, if you want to actually understand the full story, you need to go to the second movie. And then there is of course the problem that the second movie is where the franchise started to be kind of too American, I guess. The second movie, the first movie is like everything is very mysterious, everything is like hidden in the shadows because you don't know, like they try to keep up the mystery, and they only reveal Kayako's story at the end of the movie. For the second movie, the audience already knows what's going on, so there is no reason for things to be in the shadow anymore. It's kind of like, you know, the American Godzilla movies, the last ones, the one like from, I guess it's 2014, and then The King of Monsters, those movies. The first movie, Godzilla shows up for like 10 minutes, and I like that because, well, it's the first American movie since the one from the 2000s. So it makes sense for them to like keep the monster hidden, and like just let our imagination fill up the gaps. And then there is King of Monsters, which I didn't like it because, well, there is no reason for the monster to be hidden anymore. We already saw him on the previous movie. There is no mystery anymore. But they still like do everything at night, and we can barely see the monsters. With Ju-on, they don't follow that. Like the first movie, as I said, is very mysterious, but the second movie we already know what's going on, so there is no reason for mystery. The problem is that they go too far, and then they start to get like, for the lack of a better word, they start to get too American. So there will be jump scares that barely exist in the first movie. Like there is one, there is really dumb, which is a guy sitting on a bench, and then Kayako just slides from underneath this bench. Very poorly executed, and it simply does not work. There is kind of an interesting scene where we see Kayako pursuing this kid, which happens at the ending of the movie, and we can kind of see like how she actually attacks people, because, well, on the first movie everything is just hinted out. We see like the person, we see Kayako, and then we see Kayako moving towards the person, and then the movie cuts, and we don't actually see how she attacks. And then on the second movie, on the very last chapter, if I remember correctly, we actually see how that goes. And it's kind of interesting, but I don't know, it's not really that necessary. But it's okay-ish. There is also some kind of nice imagery to it. It's just that, I don't know, it feels, seeing Kayako running after her victims kind of removes the supernatural aspect of it. It's just like on Halloween, if we see Michael Myers running, it kind of removes the supernatural aspect of the movie. He just walks, he slowly walks towards his victims, and he also teleports. So that's like, I don't know, that's what I'm trying to say, that is that if we saw Michael Myers running, kind of like the scary aspect of it would kind of worn away. I think it's worn off of the character, and it would become like less scary. But anyway, that's Ju-on. That's the two first movies, which are kinda quite interesting. I have a very strong preference for the first one, but since it ends on kind of an open note, I feel like it's kind of necessary to watch the second one, which is kind of a shame. But still really good movies. But anyway, I guess that's it. I still didn't figure out how to finish these videos.